Hi everyone, welcome back to another animal alphabet challenge. So this week it's the letter M, and I'm going to have a go at drawing a magpie. So again, as usual, I'm always going for subjects that are unfamiliar to me. So this is the first time I've attempted to draw a magpie. And I'm using, as usual, an image of Pixabay. I just need to adjust my reference a little bit so I can see it a bit more clearly. Now, using the Sharpie marker pen, it really kind of forces you to think quite carefully about what you're doing, because the reference photo I'm using is colour, and even though the magpie we think of as being black and white, there are lots of kind of bluish reflections in its plumage and lots of variations in the dark colours, the blacks and the dark greys as well. So once I've got my line work done, and as you can see, I'm not going for any detail at all here. Once I've got that done, I'm going to have to sort of think about, well, how am I going to use this Sharpie to create these variations in all those different tones. So we've got the body done. Just need to give this bird some legs and some feet in just a second. Now the temptation here is to get really involved with drawing every little toe on the foot. But what I'm actually going to do is just draw the two which are pointing backwards, and the rest I'm just going to kind of suggest and more or less leave it like that, at least for the moment. So next we've got to start introducing some tone, and to do that what I'm doing is squinting my eyes just to simplify the lights and darks. And what I'm going to do is, I think I'll just pop an eye in first. Actually, let's just position the eye here. And we'll come back to the detail of the eye in a moment. But now what I'm doing is just squinting, and I'm going to leave the lightest areas completely untouched. But for the rest of the bird, I'm going to put in just some fairly widely spaced hatching, keeping in mind the direction of the plumage and the curvature of the surface that I'm depicting. But I just want to keep the treatment very, very simple here. Now, if you've seen other episodes of the Animal Alphabet Challenge, you'll know that the other idea, apart from tackling unfamiliar subjects, the other idea of the challenge is to try and see what I can do in 5 or 10 minutes or so. So with that in mind, I can't get bogged down in too much detail. But that said, we want to try and capture as much of the character of the animal as possible. So you can see with this simple shading technique, I've taken the drawing from being purely line work to having some element of tone. And now what I'm going to do is hopefully be a little bit more playful and start to draw into my initial line work, but also add some deeper shadows and some more character and also add a wider range of marks. So that the original set of marks that I just put down, the hash lines, that's kind of given me a roadmap in a sense, you know, something to, a little guide to follow. Hopefully my brain's taken in quite a lot of information about the bird as I've worked around the subject, got me looking at the patterns of light and dark. So hopefully now when I go around a second time, you know, that information's in there and it helps inform what I'm doing now. And of course, one of the advantages of using the Sharpie marker pen is that because it puts down a permanent line, if I wanted to at a later date, I could go over these drawings I'm doing in this challenge, and I could apply washes of watercolor or Inktense pencil or acrylic, and you know, it's another way of kind of adding to the sketches that I've produced through the course of this challenge. So that's something I may well do at some point, to kind of convert some of these drawings into color. Of course, the disadvantage of that is that if you've got a black and white drawing that you really love, you may not want to risk putting the washes of color on, but there we go. So there's our magpie. I just want to put some detail in the eye here. Now there are quite a few subtle variations in tone within, you know, as the eye reflects different parts of the scene around it. But I'm trying to keep that fairly simple. That's worked reasonably well. So I think I just need to let's give him something to stand on here. Perhaps he's on just standing on a rocky outcrop or something. And then I need to just add a little bit of shading to his belly, just to make that a little more three-dimensional. But I want to do that quite lightly, and that's why I'm using this dot technique. And what I've just noticed is there's far too much of a recess here. This angle is too sharp, so what I need to do is just kind of flatten out the back of the neck a little bit. And then hopefully disguise that little correction that I just made. Okay, so now having done that, I'm going to squint again at the reference and pick out the really, really strong shadows and really enhance those. So, and also, you know, I'll make any other corrections that I feel are needed. So I'm really pushing quite hard now on the paper. It's probably getting close to the time to change my pen. I've been using the same marker pen for the entire challenge, so we're up to, I think this is the 13th drawing now, and it's starting to run a little bit dry, which does give you lovely scratchy characterful marks, but obviously there's a limit. You know, you want some ink going down on the page. The marker wasn't brand new, by the way, when I started to use it for this, so it has lasted very well. There we go, one magpie. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Animal Alphabet Challenge, and I'll see you next week for episode N. Thanks very much for watching.